What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Randy here with RTS Mobile Gaming, bringing you another fantastic video today. In today's video, we are playing Lord of the Rings Rise to War, and we are covering Azru-Khor. He is phenomenal. This guy is a monster, and he has a nice bow. All right, so let's get right into it. Give me the like and sub if you haven't yet. Get your life priorities straight. Get out of your grandma's basement, and let's rock and roll. First off, Azru-Khor is an evil man. Second of all, he is a support commander, which means he gets 25 bonus focus and 5 skill points. Those 5 skill points are so important. Massively important because you need to max out several of his respect talent trees in order to be a baller, okay? Into his stats. His might, his focus, and his speed are all exactly 1.49 per level. They are identical. However, you are going to want to prioritize focus and speed. Might, of course, has its use since part of your damage is physical, but an enormous portion of Azru-Khor's damage is going to be burn-related damage. So, for that reason, you want to get focus, and because your archers are super-duper squishy and they die after being popped with a needle like a balloon, you want them to be fast so they can attack before the enemy. Okay? Gear-wise, you're going to want to get stuff that specializes in speed and focus. There's not a whole lot of weapons that do that, but the Mirkwood bow is one of the best in slot, maybe even the best in slot weapon from the purple standpoint here. It's going to give you the most valuable stat in the game for this commander, which is the army attack to ranged. If you see that on a piece of gear, you should use that, okay? Next, I also happen to have the plus damage dealt to ranged units, which is additionally very useful. On my chest, my helmet, and my accessory, I am using focus and speed stats. The hunter skin, another best in slot purple item. It's going to have army defense to ranged, which is key since you ranged, like I said, fall over when you blow on them. And then the trapper's hood, focus and speed. It's going to give you, again, the best in class stat for the plus attack to your army ranged units. All right. And lastly, I'm using Fiddle of the Eldest because it gives great bonuses to my speed and defense, and it also gives commander focus and speed. The heal is nice. It synergizes well. Azru-Khor already has his own heal and his own debuff removing ability, but this synergizes well. It just makes him that much more effective. Once I do level up the Wizard Fireworks a little more, 1-star +1 attack does not outweigh the bonuses from Fiddle of the Eldest. Once this is +2 or +3 attack, I will switch the Wizard Fireworks on, and this will be best in slot again, because this has plus ranged damage, and then damage dealt %. Okay? Wizard's Firework accessory will be best in slot. Remember that. You're just going to need to level it up to at least 3-star. Okay? Now, on to his abilities. Let's make this quick. Give me the like and sub. Let's rock and roll, baby. First things first, I am using the Raider talent. This gives you 35% chance to deal 40% burn damage after dealing damage. You can see that from anywhere, dealing anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 damage, depending on your focus, depending on your archer units damage, and depending on how many archers you have in your army. Oh, I have a drinking problem. I apologize. In addition to that, we also have maximized our fuel oil skill. This increases the burn damage received by enemies by 20%. Must get this. Do not run Azru-Khor without maxing out Raider and fuel oil. Do not do it. Next thing you've got to do is maximize powder keg. This is going to be your nuker. We'll go through a report in a minute, but this is going to basically, you'll see in the report, anywhere from 3,000 to 4,500 to even 6,000 on occasion, burn damage when the enemy sustains burn damage in the turn of powder keg. It's not that strong, but it is a half-decent nuke. It would be really nice if he just dealt 300% burn damage to 2 units. Instead, you'll see often only triggering one time around. If one of your 2 range units doesn't proc Raider, you may only trigger it once or twice per round, okay? But it's still a very explosive nuke. Corsair of Umbar. Of course, if you are respect level 5, you want this ability. This is going to give you a 50% chance to do 2 attacks. The one thing to note, this does not stack with the Morgul Arbalest's chance to do a double strike. They have a 75% chance, I believe, to do a double strike compared to a 50 here. And the difference there is they can deal maximum damage. His ability gives you minimum damage. Recommendation for you. If you're not respect 5, use the Morgul Arbalests. Do not, obviously, put points in Corsair of Umbar, because you won't have Respect 5 unlocked. And you'll have a slightly more effective Corsair of Umbar talent. The Morgul Arbalests are not the 100% most ideal unit to use with this build. They are very strong units, but that will get you out of needing to spec into this. So, needless to say, they are a close second in damage to the snipers. So I would say the Morgul Arbalests, if you want to use them, you do not need the Respect 5 talents. Then you can put these points down here where I'm going to talk about next. The Warship Captain. This is going to give you a phenomenal heal to one allied unit on a 2-round cooldown starting in round 3. This synergizes well with my Fiddle of the Eldest, which is going to trigger on round 4. So on round 3, all my debuffs are being removed. I'm getting a heal. On round 4, all my debuffs are being removed. I'm getting a heal. On round 5, I'm receiving a heal and all debuffs removed. So he's been I can't even speak today. He's essentially debuff 3 for rounds 4, 5, and 6. Very strong there. 3, 4, and 5. Apologies. With a half-decent heal to boot, okay? You also have Discipline, which is 35 defense when maximized, and Clear-Headed, which is going to give you tip time reduction. Good early game for leveling up, I guess. Otherwise, you're not going to use that. The defense is somewhat useful considering how many archers and how little defense they have. Now, Conspirator. This is an interesting ability. This is going to increase the damage you deal from Powder Keg, okay? Whereas your archers are going to determine the damage dealt by Raider. So the archer's base damage determines Raider, and the Powder Keg is determined by, of course, your commander and his focus stat, okay? So Conspirator is going to increase the Powder Keg nuke. That's a good ability to put these 15 points into, especially if you have Warship Captain maxed out. This removing debuffs is too nice to ignore, so make sure you get the Warship Captain. And then after that, I would go into Conspirator and get increased damage to your Powder Keg, okay? In addition to that, he does have a beautiful crowd control ability. For the first 4 rounds, 2 enemies have a 100% chance to succumb to madness. Very strong ability there for crowd control. It can even be argued that you ditch the Warship Captain and you put points in Raider tree and the Conspirator plus the Treason tree before you go into Warship Captain. I would be happy either way. And then finally, we have Trickery, which is going to deal physical damage, as well as impose 50% chance of succumbing to madness. So really, Conspirator is going to increase the Powder Keg nuke, as well as give you 2 different opportunities to cause madness to enemies. Very useful crowd control here. Do not ignore it. It could even be worth going with the Morgul Arbalest, ditching the Corsair of Umbar and putting my points into Conspirator, dropping Warship Captain, moving points into here, and points into here just for the crowd control, because again, archers are squishy, and the more crowd control you have, the more damage you'll get off, okay? Now, that is the tree. Let's talk about the units real quick, then I'll open up a report from earlier. Get excited! Well, yeah, alright, let's start with the report, I don't care. Here we go. I've got 2 builds for you to look at today. Both of them are relatively even matches. One of them I did fairly well against a slightly stronger opponent with a lot of tier 4 marshals, which, by the way, absolutely obliterate archers because they deal with crazy damage at insane speed. Beyond ridiculous how much damage marshals do. They need a mega nerf. Okay, anyways, into Azru-Khor's units. For this particular build, I was using 300 snipers, I was using 1,500 Morgul Arbalests, and 1,500 Crushers, which are going to deal a little bit of damage, do an armor break, deal a little bit of damage, but overall, they're basically a frontline tank, okay? In this build, you can see that my damage per unit was significantly higher with the Morgul Arbalests here, with less than half the units, I did about half the damage, so the damage was a little bit lopsided here, which means I probably triggered 1 or 2 additional Raider procs with the Morgul Arbalests versus the snipers. The Morgul Arbalests can trigger Raider twice in a round if they do a double attack. Okay, and then the other combat report, we've got, this is the same one, and the other one I got completely dominated. Absolutely decimated, destroyed, and obliterated. I was trying a build where I was running tier 2 Uruk archers because they have decent base damage, and they deal burn damage on attack. These are going to benefit from the 20% increased fire damage taken by the fire oil, okay? They, unfortunately, and I found this out the hard way, fire arrows does not trigger powder keg. Apparently, only Raider triggered power keg. And then I'm running here, as you can see, the snipers again, with the range damage priority and the reduced physical damage taken from, really all damage taken from enemy melee units. And they have very similar base damage, so really the snipers deal 16 base damage, and the archers deal 16 base damage. So they're really dealing the same damage on auto attack per unit in the command. And lastly, I was using the Corsair units. Again, I'm really trying to capitalize on the fire damage buffs here. They're going to deal an additional 20% burn damage, because in Arson, they already deal 100% burn damage with their normal attacks. These were a half-decent front line with their avoidance ability. Let's open the report up, since I've got you here, and you can take a look. All right. All right. So I got the might bonus. I got the focus bonus, speed bonus. I'm just trying to get down to the pew-pew. All right, here we go. Here you can see, activates Corsair of Umbar. Uruk Archer will gain dual blows before acting. Sniper will gain dual blows before acting. Damage decreases, very important. That's why the attack stat is so important with these guys. Their damage decreases to the minimum, which is 16.2 each. So they're both dealing 16.2 damage on their attacks, okay? Now this is what the attacks look like. Azru-Khor hits, not very hard. And then we get down to the Corsairs. The Corsairs deal burn damage, but they do not benefit from the Raider buff because they are not ranged units. And then we have the Archer. Here you can see physical damage. They do not trigger Raider. Then we have the Uruk Archer triggering fire arrows, which did pretty decent damage. And again, these are tier 2 units, so that's a total of almost 7,000 damage dealt by the Uruk Archer tier 2 unit, compared to, oh look, I attacked again. They attacked twice. Then we do another 3,900, another 3,300, 3,400. So yeah, we're at just about 16,000 damage by the Uruk Archers here. Here's a Raider trigger. That's nice. And then fire arrows again. So, interesting. We're getting close to 20,000 damage dealt by the tier 2 Uruk Archer in round 1 here. Absolutely gorgeous. The snipers attack. I did get 2 attacks in with the follow-up. I did not proc Raider in either attack, so the snipers did a total of about 7,800 damage or so. 7,700 damage compared to the Uruk Archer tier 2 Fire Archer dealing about 20,000 damage. And then we have the Corsairs. Very nice. Round 2. Coming into round 2. Here we go. Uruk Archer coming in again. We got physical damage. Boom. No Raider. Boom. No double attack. Boom. Or is it a double pack? There is a double attack. Yes. Fire arrow in here. So 4,000 plus 2,400 plus another 4,000 plus another 2,700. We're looking pretty, guys. We're looking again. 13,000 damage. No Raider triggered, but the dual attack is very nice. Okay. All right, here's the powder keg. Finally, we're getting into the powder keg in round 3. There's a heal, Warship Captain kicking in the heel in round 3, recovering units, removing debuffs. Extremely nice there. And here we go. Uruk Archer getting beat up right there. That's why they did less damage. They got massacred by those marshals. Okay. Uruk Archer again, coming in hot. Did not get a dual attack. I did get a Raider buff. I did get a damage buff, plus the Raider buff, plus the powder keg. You can see the powder keg did about 4,000 damage. The burn arrows did not trigger powder keg. That's the most important thing I want you to take away from this. It does appear that the Uruk Archers are dealing better damage than the snipers. I'm actually going to probably switch to them on a higher ratio. But they unfortunately do not trigger powder keg with the fire arrow buff. Okay? All right. So, that's it. I don't want to make this video any freaking longer. This is ridiculously long. Give me the like and sub. I love you guys a long time. I had to walk through the report. Very important you guys saw that. Randy out, baby. Peace.